Okay, Rick, let's assume you have the zip file unloaded and all the, the one file and the entire directory is copied to your transmitters app folder. So I'm going to make this video on the transmitter emulator on my computer. So because it's easier to make videos that way. So let's take a look. So we would come down to applications, user applications. I've got a whole bunch of these things on here. You'll just have one DFM INSP instead of two like I do, so don't worry about that. And then what you'll see is once I've read that in and I go into applications, then my instrument panel app will be right here at the bottom. Okay, and so this is the main menu. A minute ago I read in your panel. Normally it would just appear here. Let's do this. Let's just start from a clean slate, reset all app data. Yes, reload the app. Okay, so now this is how yours will come up. It'll come up clean. So the selected panel will be nothing. So the first thing we want to do is go into the panels that we want to work with. And we'll click on this first box here. Which panel do we want to work with? And you'll see that in your case, the only thing on the list is going to be your panel. So we click that. We could also, if we wanted to, pick a background file. There's some different background files, but since we've done the gauges in your panel without a bezel and a face behind them, it's going to look best on a black background, which is the default. So we'll just leave that alone. If you have more than one panel, you can assign the two telemetry windows in displayed telemetry, and you can decide which thing shows up in window 1 and which thing shows up in window 2. Okay. So then what I do is I come back to the top, and you'll see that my selected panel is now your CHT-RPM The next thing to do is to say, okay, now we have to tell the app which sensors are connected to which of your gauges. And so you'll see here that we have the 5 needle gauges, and you'll see the labels. That 1, 3, 4, 2. Those are the label numbers. That lets you know which gauge that is. So we're going to go by your labeling, and so the one that you called number 1 is this first one. And the app wants to know what input source do you want. We're going to pick a sensor, so that's the default. And right now this is an emulator, so it doesn't have any sensors. It just has the built-in transmitter telemetry. So you'll see RPM sensors and temperature sensors. So you'll pick the appropriate ones, and you'll go down through this list. And for each one of your gauges, you'll pick an appropriate sensor for that gauge. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the temperatures, and then you'll pick your RPM for the RPM. And again, I just made up sensors here, and the rest of this will be just fine. So that's now told the app which gauges are mapped to which sensors. And then if we go back up to the top and we go over to window 1, then there's your instrument panel, and in your case, all the needles would actually be reading the correct values from your sensors. Now, one thing that's interesting is I know you wanted to move those 1, 2, 3, 4s up and over a little bit, and I think you wanted to maybe have them say CHT 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me show you something we can do here. There is a separate little video I made on this, but if I go into Applications, Instrument Panel, Edit Panel, we're editing your panel here, and so you see we started editing widget 1, and it puts the crosshairs at the center of widget 1 to let us know that. The center is grayed out because I can't move the gauge. It's fixed in position. I could move the value, the readout value, and interesting, the label I can move, and so I see that the default here is Y. I could also edit the font, the decimal points, the X, or the Y, and so I can actually use my left-right. This is your 3D wheel, and your transmitter can move that up and down, and you'll see that the editor here and the transmitter actually can move it up quite a bit. And if I want to, I can click the edit button here, and I actually could change this to CHT1. So if you want to go through and do that after you've played with it for a while and move these things around and have them say CHT1, 2, 3, 4, you can do that with the panel editor. So that's basically it. Let me know how it works out, okay?